visit from our C-SPAN online website. You'll find us at www.cspan.org/China/. Now, Kansas Governor Bill Graves delivers his State of the State address from the state capitol in Topeka. He spoke last month about his goals for Kansas during the next year.
Thank you very much.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the Governor of the State of Kansas, Bill Graves.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, members of the legislature, my colleagues in the executive branch, and fellow Kansans, I think it appropriate to begin by acknowledging the absence of our friend and colleague Steve Lloyd. And I'm sure I speak for all of us in saying that our thoughts and our prayers are with you, Steve. Tonight marks my fourth appearance as governor, in which I have the privilege and responsibility to report on the state of the state. Public service is a high calling, and I am honored by the opportunity to serve the people of Kansas. I am also proud of the partnership I enjoy with the Kansas legislature. Together, we have provided unprecedented tax relief for the people of Kansas. Together, we have strengthened our future by investing in education. Together, we have created initiatives to protect the environment, to more effectively deal with juveniles and violent crime, to more fairly administer tax laws, to effectively implement welfare to work, and to create jobs and build a stronger economy. We have achieved a great deal, and I thank you for your support and partnership. Our past efforts have contributed to a state of the state that is excellent. Record low unemployment with more Kansans employed than any time in our history, and strong growth in all sectors of the economy have provided a sound economic base. We are very proud of our place in the global economy. The world is consuming Kansas-grown grain and meat, flying Kansas aircraft, and using Kansas-built machinery, while Kansas-based services meet their needs. The fiscal condition of Kansas is outstanding. This is confirmed by the recent Standard & Poor's rating of AA+, the highest rating possible for the state of Kansas. In reaching that conclusion, Standard & Poor's noted as a significant factor in this high rating the fact that Kansas has, and I'm quoting, conservative fiscal management and sound financial operations with ample statutory mandated cash reserves. This AA+ rating confirms Kansas is financially sound. We have minimal debt, we do not overspend, and we prudently maintain a rainy day fund. We must not deviate from these conservative policies. Short-term political gain shall not be substituted for long-term fiscal responsibility. We cannot spend money we do not have, nor spend money we hope will be there. As I have said before, there is no Kansas credit card. While the state of the state demands our attention, the future of the state requires our vision, and my message tonight will be simple. There are taxes that can and should be reduced, and investments that can and should be made to build a better Kansas. Together we have made history At no other time have the people of Kansas been given 3 consecutive years of tax relief. That's a record we can be proud of, but more importantly, it's a record we will add to with more tax cuts this year. Let me share with you my proposals for fair, significant, and effective tax relief. An income tax cut for single taxpayers. Last year, I asked you to address the inequity between single and married taxpayers, to add a tax burden to young people starting their careers, on single parents struggling to keep their families intact, or those who have lost their spouse, just isn't right. You agreed, but because we lack the financial resources, the decision was made to phase in tax justice over 4 years. Now we have the resources, and on behalf of the 500,000 Kansans who will receive a 20% reduction this year, I strongly urge you to provide tax justice to single taxpayers. Other income tax cuts. In our efforts over the past 3 years to provide tax relief to Kansans, we have not dealt adequately with the income tax. Relief is due to all who pay income taxes. Therefore, I am asking the legislature to support increasing the standard deduction by $200 for singles, $400 for the head of a household, and $600 for married couples. I ask your support to increase the personal exemption by $100 from $2,000 to $2,100. I ask your support for enacting a 10% earned income tax credit. When the federal earned income tax credit was expanded in 1986, Ronald Reagan called it the best anti-poverty, the best job creation, the best pro-family measure to come out of Congress. I agree, and I ask your support for a state credit equal to 10% of the federal amount for Kansans. And finally, Kansas is clearly out of step with the rest of the nation on the taxation of machinery and equipment. My proposal begins the process of removing this business inequity by providing a 15% income tax credit for property taxes paid on machinery and equipment. These 4 proposals, along with reducing the single taxpayer rate, provide major income tax relief for Kansans. The inheritance tax. Kansas must address its death taxes. In analyzing this issue, it became abundantly clear our inheritance tax is much too high and much too complicated. Kansans already pay taxes on income when it's earned, taxes on property while it's owned, and taxes on goods and services when they're purchased. That's enough taxing. It is time It is time for Kansans to have the lowest inheritance taxes possible in this country. This is a tax reduction for all Kansans. Just ask the store owner on Main Street in your town, or the farmer or ranchers in rural Kansas, the retired workers who own their homes and have savings. They can't pass along their business, their property, or their savings without the state of Kansas imposing this unjust penalty. Therefore, I am recommending on July 1st of this year, Kansas move to a federal pickup estate tax under which 90% of estates will be entirely exempt from federal and state death taxes. Property taxes. Continuing to reduce the uniform school mill levy is a goal we all share, and I recommend that the levy be reduced to 23 mills for 1998 and 1999. This would represent a total reduction through our partnership of more than 1/3 of the state-imposed property tax levy since we began these efforts just 2 years ago. A food sales tax rebate. Last year in my State of the State message, I urged you to expand the sales tax on food rebate by nearly doubling from $13,000 to $25,000 the income eligibility requirement and returning dollars to more families who most need assistance. This proposal made sense then, and it makes sense now. And I promise you, we will administratively make this program work. The families with the least to spend must have more of our focus. In the last few months, there has been much talk about sales tax on food. This proposal gives us an opportunity to provide relief, not rhetoric. Also included in my recommendations are sales tax relief, which provide deductions for savings for all post-secondary education, sales tax exemptions for certain nonprofits, tax simplicity and fairness issues, and exemptions pertaining to the severance tax on oil. In addition, I propose we increase the exemption for personal property from $250 to $500. This is a common sense proposal to reduce an unnecessary paperwork burden on Kansas businesses. In total, this tax relief package will cut the taxes Kansans must pay by $178.5 million next fiscal year and more than $200 million on an annual basis. And finally, I ask you to extend the moratorium on unemployment insurance taxes for calendar year 1999, which will allow businessmen and women throughout Kansas to keep an additional $217 million to invest in their businesses rather than send to Topeka. These tax cuts are significant in size, balanced in scope, fair in their inclusion of all Kansans, and consistent with conservative fiscal policy. Added to tax cuts previously enacted by this administration and the Kansas legislature at the turn of the century, we will have reduced the tax burden on Kansans by $3.3 billion. I am fully aware some will not find our tax relief efforts adequate. They have but one song to sing and one slogan to shout. But they underestimate, they undervalue, and they do not understand the Kansans I know. Kansans are not selfish nor greedy. They want balance. They may not hire special interests, but they convey the interests they have in building a better future. They believe in investing in the Kansas of tomorrow, and so do I. The following are a few of the highlights of my proposals to build a better Kansas. Investments in our children in education and training. Educating our children has, is, and will always be a priority of this administration. Except for our homes, nowhere is the future of Kansas more influenced than in our classrooms. The following are some of my investments in our children's education. We should increase the base budget per pupil expenditure by $35 to $3,705 per student. We should increase the budget to provide special education financing at 85% of cost. We should provide $10 million to fund a 5th year of high correlation weighting. We should increase by more than 20% our support for at-risk children. We should add nearly $2 million to increase support for the Parents as Teachers program, and we should commit $5 million to expand Early Head Start for children ages 3 to 5, so thousands more children receive the benefits of this program. Combined with other initiatives in the budget, my recommendations will provide new funding next year of $84 million, or a 4.1% increase for elementary and secondary education. Regents institutions, Washburn, community college, and area vocational technical schools also will have increased operating support. Because educating adults and building a stronger workforce is critical to our continued economic success, I am adding $600,000 to the Kansas Industrial Training and Kansas Industrial Retraining programs and $1 million for capital improvements for area vocational technical schools. This 50% increase will enable them to even better prepare more skilled workers for the Kansas workforce. In the history book American Commonwealth, which was printed in 1888, it is noted that the Kansas Senate Education Committee demonstrated a commitment to excellence in education. One of the proposals to accomplish this goal was to have a Webster's Dictionary in every school. While our commitment to excellence hasn't changed, the times and needs have. In our quest for excellence, I am recommending major technology investments in the amount of $23 million for K through 12, Regents institutions, Washburn and community colleges, area vocational technical schools, school for the students. Children who are not healthy cannot take advantage of initiatives to address the problem in which more than 60,000 Kansas children typically go uninsured. I am recommending 12 funds to match $30.8 million in federal money for providing health insurance coverage and guaranteeing our children's right to health. Investments in the environment and our I believe about their environment and natural resources. This administration's past initiatives, $800,000 to finance the Kansas Water Quality Buffer Initiative and restore riparian areas of targeted watersheds in the Kansas Lower Republican River Basin. I recommend $1 million per year for the next 5 years to leverage $20 million in loans, providing more communities with critical water system upgrades. I recommend $5 million from the state water plan to obligations under the. I recommend $150,000 Kansas Geological Survey to begin a field-wide of how best to explore oil in the Hugoton field. $1,500 combined Kansas State University to one state-of-the-art use water from the and two animal lagoons and ensure groundwater. While protecting our environment, enhance the opportunity for all of them. We have neglected our parks to the point of embarrassment. I'm asking you to invest $10 million to be spent over 3 years to ensure our parks are accessible, usable, and reflect the pride of our state. Investment in our people. Those who serve Kansas and are part of the CAPER system have not had a conflict for 4 years. With the strong performance of our system's investment, it's time to address that issue. I'm recommending a 3% increase for all CAPER's retirees. Last fall, in this chamber, I addressed nearly 400 state employees from throughout Kansas. They were equipment operators, those who protect us on the highways, those who serve us in the offices of government, of appreciation for their willingness to do more and an encouragement to serve Kansans better. Personally delivering this message to them was important because during the past 3 years, we have reduced the size of government by more than 3,000 employees. Employees to do more, and therefore, because they are our asset, we must support their effort. I am proud of our state employees, particularly proud of the leadership my cabinet has shown, and the equivalent of a 4% increase for all state employees. They are doing more. They have earned this recommendation. There are numerous other investments in my budget designed to build a better Kansas. In my recommendations, please note the one-time tax payment of $66.6 million we received is allocated to one-time, not ongoing expenditures. Regardless of how you choose to allocate these funds, I expect them to be used for one-time costs. In spite of these aggressive initiatives, we are able to propose a budget from the state general fund that is less than the rate of inflation, a budget that grows by only 2.5%. In every session of the legislature, there are public policy issues not directly related to the spending plan, which are important and must be debated. There are too many to mention in the time allotted here, but let me highlight and comment on a few. The tax deals. Last year, we crafted and enacted the most significant tax policy in more than a decade, the Taxpayer Fairness Act. Now that we have addressed fairness, we should continue the discussion in terms of efficiently and effectively adjudicating tax disputes. I have proposed a structure to allow the Board of Tax Appeals to perform its role. I urge your input on and consideration of this issue. Retail wheeling. It is clear to me there ultimately will be a restructuring of utilities providing electric power. My expectation is that whatever Kansas does, we will need complete assurance the Kansas consumer, rural and urban, is protected, and municipalities and the industry are treated fairly. Legislation restructuring this industry should address these crucial concerns. Ethics and campaign finance reform. For the 4th year in a row, I asked you to help restore the confidence of people in their government by enacting meaningful ethics legislation. 2 areas I strongly encourage include providing immediate subpoena powers for the Commission on Governmental Standards and Conduct and requiring disclosure of third-party dollars spent in the election process. To give the Commission this subpoena power is to severely limit their ability to carry out the responsibilities the legislature has given them. Let them to do their job. Third-party spending in campaigns is an issue of disclosure. It is not an issue of restricting citizens' rights. All we ask for is information of their money and how it was spent. Kansans have the right to know who is trying to influence them in the political process. Abortion, an issue of great importance to all Kansans, is public policy regarding abortion. This issue demands conscientious thought by all of us. Thoughtful people can find common ground on even the most challenging issues. There are those sitting in this chamber that showed courage, commitment, and brought divergent views together to achieve passage last year of an excellent bill, the Woman's Right to Know. I was proud to be part of that effort and proud of those here tonight who led it. I believe there is a where we can join together. I strongly urge passage of a bill to ban partial birth abortions. The argument about when this procedure is done or how many times it's done is not the issue. The issue is that it is an abhorrent procedure that is currently legal in Kansas, be banned so it will never be performed in Kansas. Tonight I have shared my strong commitment to provide fair, significant, and effective tax relief and to invest in building a better Kansas. When I first addressed you in January of 1995, I quoted Carl Becker. He reminded us that part of the heritage of pioneers in dealing with a new frontier and conveyed to us that without vision, a frontier cannot be transformed have into what we dream. We are entering a new frontier. We are on the threshold of a new century. This budget is historic. It is the last full fiscal year budget before the year 2000. Our vision must be guided by good public policy, not compromised by political expediency. We will not sacrifice opportunities for the next generation appeasing special interest demands today. This plan balances the need for fair, significant, and effective tax relief with the need to build a better Kansas. That balance is my commitment to the people of Kansas. Thank you and good night.
Governor Bill Graves was elected in 1994. His term expires this year. Before becoming governor, he served 2 terms as Secretary of State. Next, Democratic Governor Frank O'Bannon. He's one of 14 Democratic governors who gave State of the